Hey guys, it's me, GT. Today we're going to talk about Cyberpunk 2077 and its performance issues on the base model Xbox One and PS4. And we'll also take a look at what I actually believe is what it's going to take to fix it. Let's get into this. Okay, to actually understand these performance issues and why the FPS fluctuates all over the place when playing on these base consoles, with reports of dropping all the way down to 13-14 FPS. To understand all that, we need to look at the system specs from a PC perspective. Now, I'm not going to get into all the controversies surrounding Cyberpunk 2077. We all know what they are and who is responsible for it. But there is one issue that I see that actually CD Projekt Red is not really responsible for. They're probably doing the best they can with what's given to them, and I will get into that. One of the big problems that arises is each company, Microsoft and Sony, release multiple consoles across one generation. That means the Xbox One generation and the PS4 generation. We have the Xbox One, we have the Xbox One S, and the Xbox One X. And for PlayStation, we have the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. Now, seemingly this wouldn't cause an issue, but I knew when these latter consoles released, eventually it would be a problem. It's because there's an ocean-sized hole in between their capabilities. I'll show you what I mean. The Xbox One and PS4 released in November of 2013, and they both have 8 cores, 8 threads on an AMD Jaguar processor, clocked at 1.6 GHz, and they both have 8 GB of memory. And these console system specs, even when compared to the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro, equals a potato. And that's not really meant as a derogatory term. When they first came out, while they weren't actually cutting edge, they did get the job done. So when looking at the base consoles through the eyes of a PC gamer, what do we actually know? Well, we know we have the Jaguar processor, which if you want to find a PC equivalent, it's the old AMD Athlon 5150, which yes is a 4-core 4-thread processor, but these are custom chips for the Xbox One and the PS4. So it's almost like when making these consoles, what they did was they strapped two 5150 processors together to give you your 8-core 8-thread processors. And when it comes to the GPU power of these systems, they're kind of along the lines of an AMD 7770, which PC gamers know this is extremely old and outdated tech. It's even old and outdated when compared to the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. These systems are somewhere along the lines of graphical power of an RX 580, give or take. Now, this isn't exact, because it's kind of hard to compare apples to oranges. Now, this is about as close as we can get, and it does really work for this analogy, just to explain things. And I hate to interrupt, but if you've been enjoying the video so far, consider giving it a like and subscribing for future Axial GT content. Also, I've been cleaning out my computer space because I've been overrun with computer parts. I have them all over the place. And actually, they're all still new in the box. I haven't got around to building anything with them. And I seem to have duplicates of a lot of parts, like the Ryzen 5 1600 AF, which is mainly just a downclocked 2600. I was thinking about doing giveaways and giving parts away like that. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below. With that, let's get back to the video. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, potatoes. The Xbox One and the PS4 base models are potatoes. So people with these consoles thinking that they're going to get a 1080p experience, it's not going to happen. And high fidelity graphic output, nope, again, not going to happen. I'm sorry, but it's just not. Not to say that the game can't actually play on these systems. In my previous video, I got the game running on a 3400G AMD APU. So yes, it will run, but there are going to have to be some sacrifices. Number one is the resolution. To show you what I mean, here's the PC system requirements for Cyberpunk 2077, and we need to concentrate on the minimum. For 1080p low settings, we need a CPU of an i5-3570K or an AMD FX 8310. And I also want you to pay attention to the graphics card. It says it requires a GTX 780 or a Radeon RX 470. So we keep these in mind. I'll put this over here. So like I said earlier, these base model consoles used a custom chip that's kind of based off the Athlon 5150, which is nowhere near an i5-3570K or an FX 8310, even if the die is twice the size. So it's like having two 5150s strapped together. It still doesn't cut it. And when you look at the graphics processor, it says it requires a GTX 780 and a Radeon RX 470. And as I said earlier, the base consoles, if you actually want to try to compare, is kind of equal to an AMD 7770, which again is nowhere near the minimum system specs that would be required on PC. Now these minimum system specs that CDPR gave us actually target 30 FPS. So now you should be able to see why the base consoles have a hard time even reaching 30, sometimes falling as low as 15. So what should base console players actually expect when CDPR fixes the game? I would actually think 720p is going to be your base. But there's a little caveat to that. I think there's going to be dynamic resolution scaling depending on what's going on the screen that will adjust your resolution on the fly. This has been done before. Anyone remember when The Witcher 3 was ported to the Switch? It had dynamic resolution scaling. When it's docked in its station, it ran at 720p. And in handheld mode, I think it was somewhere around 540p. Forgive me if that's not exact, but I know it was somewhere close to it. And the textures used on the Switch version were nothing like they were on the console or PC version. And the only reason why all this was done is because the Switch did not have the power of the consoles or PC. The game was still playable and did look halfway decent. Now this all in all causes a very unique situation. With the base consoles, Xbox One and PS4 have nowhere near the power of the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. Now I actually knew this was going to wind up happening. This is the only generation that it has happened, where Microsoft released more than one console per generation, and Sony released more than one console per generation. Now, as it comes for controversies, yes, CD Projekt Red did lie. Everybody knows that they did. They know they did. But all I can say is I can only base something on my experience with something. And I have not had one crash on PC, except for one. And that actually wasn't CD Projekt Red's fault. That was mine, because I overclocked my graphics card too far. So can't blame that on them. Yes, is the game buggy? Oh, very much so. But I do feel it has a good base to build upon. And I do have faith that they will eventually fix the game. But again, sacrifices are going to have to be made when you're actually talking about base consoles. Now the One X and the PS4 Pro, yes, those will be optimized too. And I'm sure the bugs will get fixed in those consoles also. But they will always run better than the base consoles, because they have more power. That's just logic. Now there are rumors that this will be the last console generation there is, with the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, with the rumors floating around that everything will go to cloud gaming. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. Now we'll make one prediction. If Microsoft and Sony release another console within the Series X and the PS5 generation, the same issue will happen again. You mark my words. So that's how I think they're going to wind up fixing the game. Dynamic resolution scaling, and possibly a little bit of field of view adjustments. But that's it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future Axial GT content. Let's mess up YouTube's algorithm by making them think I'm a better YouTuber than what I really am. And don't forget to tell me about if you'd like to see some giveaways of my computer parts that I have lying around here, because I have a shitload of them. And next week, I'm going to be talking about how NVIDIA hates you. But until next time, you all have a good one.